I found there are definitely books out there that have helped. Aside from yours, Bioregulatory Medicine, which is a great one, are there other ones you recommend to patients to build their awareness of what this can be? I know you could read forever. My father's like, there's like 1,000 books, okay?
Yeah.
Like, but there are starting points in some of those. Do you have any that you could share?
I mean, the books are always like, again, to go back, and the books that I would say are always too complicated,
Mm,
in the sense that like you would have to learn, I think biology and physiology is interesting before you slap pathology on it. Right. And I think, again, the hard thing is you don't really find an instruction manual to talk about biology and physiology as it pertains to like medicine and health performance. Like I always call the health performance. You don't find any books because they're so focused on talking about Lyme disease, right?
yeah,
Or talking about chronic fatigue. Like there's got to be a book that just talks about like what your mitochondria do in the most like the most educational, and then what, and it's, again, it's our job as crappy marketers to be able to like spend time doing that, because if you don't do it, and I'm to blame, if you
mhm,
don't do it and you don't like lay out why it is different before it hits medicine, then the problem is you don't need to do it, right? Like I've
yeah,
got I've got patients beating down my door, like I don't have any time, but one day like somebody needs to say, forget the clinic part of it. Why do you guys treat biology this way? And then you can bring in treatments to explain how they affect that particular thing. And
yeah.
that doesn't exist, which is really like sad. There's no instruction manual, because there should have been, on why do these treatments work, because they affect that particular organ system. But like that's a few novels. So like any
Absolutely.
book, like diets are always hard because they're supposed to be seasonal, and like people get into diets like religions. I'm vegan, I'm carnivore, and you're like, you're crazy. Like forget, like nobody needs to make food that complicated, right? Like you're just going on something because it's what you want to do, like in
Yeah.
the end. And it's like you could feel better for a while, but the diet's supposed to be seasonal. Everything was supposed to flux. Everything like had its, they're supposed to be loading and unloading protein diets. Like it was all supposed to work like that. And we still can't get into the artistry of flexibility of biology. We're
Mm.
still into like your carnivore 365. You're going to get rid of everything by being vegan 365. And it's like, I mean, like all those health things have become a religion for people, and they're very stuck on it. And it's hard to like, again, get people off what they want to believe, instead of like, you're not supposed to be an expert in that. There's
Mhm.
people that are trained. Brings me back to the plumbing. I'm sure I could go learn it, but like I don't go and see 15 houses a day to figure out that crap. Like pay for somebody, and they're
Yeah,
really good. So I don't know. It's education is a hard thing because we already had that conversation,
yeah,
right? With like overeducation is even a worse thing, because you
right.
start to shop around and say like, oh, I already am an expert in this, so I'm just going to go get my own ozone machine and do rectal ozone at
Yeah,
home. And I'm like, why? Like,
yeah.
what are you doing? So I wish people would just, education is great, awareness is great,
Hmm.
but hand the keys over, right? If
Yeah.
you really want a result, hand the keys over. Like, forget
And that's
it.
that leap
We're
of faith.
way,
Yeah. I feel like patients have said this to me before. They're like, I understood like 60 to 80% of like stuff you guys are doing and everything. The other is just mystery. And I had to have that leap of faith because I would never get there. I would never find out
yeah.
everything and learn like it's impossible. And if you're just of that skeptical mind, maybe that isn't for you. Who knows? But you're never gonna get there. So I feel like we could talk for hours here, but I want to respect your time.
No, I appreciate it.
We are going to have to come back on because I still have a ton of questions for you. But
I have no problem.
where can people learn more about you, get in touch with you, become a patient?
Yeah, they can go to drdrobot.com, or they can go to the biomedcenter.com in Arizona, 480-614-5820. And I'm always like, I'll have conversations like this all day. Like there's, again, very few of us that you
Yeah.
need to like spend quarterly to say like, okay, let's talk about cell therapies, or let's talk about mitochondrial therapies, let's talk about oxygen therapies. But in order to do that, like people say, well, will you come on to talk about like high dose ozone? And I'm always thinking like, why? Like why? Like why do you just
Yeah.
want to talk about that? Right? Well, you have to talk about patient experiences, and people love because they get to see, well, pro athletes do that. It's like, yeah, well, why does it have to be legitimized because a pro athlete did it? Like, why do you care if I work with the NFL? Like, but in these, in these times, like to your point, the leap of faith, like it has to be legitimized with something, and people are like, again, I'm going to take a leap of faith with you, and I'm like, that sounds ridiculous. Like, why wouldn't again you just show up, walk around, and say, that looks legit, right? Like that looks different than what I thought it was. And I'm like, there's no leap of faith there. You're taking a leap of faith by trying to do it by yourself, right? Or pretending like something's going to be different by something not looking different. Like people, I get that too, where people are like, I just had to like take this faith. And I'm like, nothing here looks like it's like not meant to be here, right? It looks different because I'm trying to do something different. Like your faith is when you like just are going to close your eyes and jump off the cliff. Like you're doing that at home in your forum, trying your nattokinase or whatever you're doing. Like I could talk about that for hours, but it's like when you show up to an expert's facility in whatever genre they are, like you said, your artist, like you're in their gallery. And
Yeah.
then you just
Yeah.
look at what they've done and you just respect that, wow, like that is that person's gallery. If you see that at IKEA, it probably looks the same as everything else that you're looking at. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that you guys have your clinic. I'm glad that we have like three in North America. But I hope that with the conversation, like as it becomes, it is attractive, as it becomes maybe more exposed, maybe more physicians will want to get into it. But certainly people that are listening, go check these things out because you'll get a different sense of like what it took to put all that stuff there. And then when it's there and it looks different, you'll get a different result.
Yeah, there can only be so many Michelin star fine dining, places out there. There aren't too many in North America. Hopefully, I am, a positive man myself. There will be more, but it's only
Well,
through work like your own, my father's, others that happens. So
it
we have to
probably doesn't
share.
reside like it doesn't reside in your dad and I. It probably resides in you, right? Like, because there's again, like you have to have people with
Yeah,
marketing backgrounds and messaging. Like that is not me. I'm happy to come on here every week, but as far as like me getting on a platform, like I mean,
yeah,
you're skilled in what you do. Like your father and I, like we do what we do, and that is not like it's aimed to be inside a clinic. It's not aimed to be a promoter outside, and it needs promoters and differentiators. And kudos to you because in order to promote it and differentiate it, you have to know what else is out there. And
yeah,
so if you didn't have the background you had, it probably all falls on people like your shoulders. And there's very few of you that actually have the ability to have talking points. Not your father and I. People are like, do this. And it's like, no, no, no. Like, we don't have that skill. Like, you don't understand that. The artist doesn't go out and promote his paintings.
yeah,
Like, you come into his gallery. So, kudos to you because there's probably only one of you that can actually talk about it in a North American after seeing it and seeing so many things. And you're still open to talk to somebody that does monotherapy and say, I think that I'm glad you think that's the greatest thing in the world. And I want to hear all your experiences about it because I'm always open to listen to somebody. It's just, I'm like, okay, like, why wouldn't you do these 10 other things? But they'll
yeah.
be like, I don't need them. And I'm like, maybe you didn't. I don't know. So your dad and I may be the crazy ones, but you are the one to take it forward and say, so if any VCs or investors, Casper's the one to call and be like,
Oh, thank you. Although it's
there
the
you go.
crazy
You'll feel
ones
those
that
because
we need the crazy ones. We need more of the crazy ones out there like
you
you and doing amazing work. Dr. Drobot, thank you so much for all that you do.